Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Evie. Good to be with you again,
You too, as always, great.
as always. And to those watching, welcome. It's another week. It's another Permission to Thrive myth-busting, those narratives and stories that have been holding us back, keeping us small, basically impacting our lives, and really looking at these different phrases and unpacking what is behind them, and certainly at the saboteurs or the voices behind them, so that we can break away and break free from them and really step into our power. And this week, we're going to be looking at the knowledge gap. That's the overarching
Oh,
title.
and I have stories
Oh,
for that.
so, the knowledge gap is all about the stories we tell ourselves about how much we do or do not know and should know, shouldn't know, etc. How many qualifications we have and haven't got, and all of that stuff. And we're going to start with I don't know enough, because I think that for me is such a common one. I hear it even now. I have definitely said it at times in the past, and even if I haven't voiced it, I have definitely felt it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, I can definitely relate to this type of thing and how it held me back over the years as well. But I hear it a lot with my clients because even though nowadays you can see that for people to be hired, the first thing that employers are looking for is the personality, is the how a person fits in their team, um, and of course credentials and things. But like the learning for the positions usually happen afterwards. But people don't understand that, and they find it very hard. Like when they see a job description, they will go through it with a comb, and really say, no, 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 I can't do this, I can't do that, I don't know enough for that, I don't know enough for this. And you're thinking, come on, you have like 80% of the qualifications and the ability to do that, or the experience, and you're holding yourself back for that 20%. What is that really? Why is this really happening? So,
Yeah, and this happens more so with women than men.
oh yeah,
So I remember reading a report, and it was saying that actually men have no issues with going for jobs that are way outside of their skill base, if you like. It's just like they like the sound of it, they're going to go for it. Whereas women will find a job, or look at a job description, and if there's one or two things that are not part of their experience, they will make the assumption that they haven't got what it takes to do the job. So it's just so interesting how we have learned to play ourselves down. It's like, well, if you need to have everything, and I think it's a little bit like just that thing, with exams, like, oh, I got a B, yeah, but why didn't you get an A? It's all that kind of that mentality. And and forgetting that actually so much, as you were saying, when it comes to work, when we look at it through the work lens, so much is learned on the job, being in the environment, learning the
absolutely.
culture, learning how the business operates, because five companies could have a similar job but go around it or go about it in some slightly different way. So
Absolutely.
this, I don't know enough, it is incredibly disempowering. It definitely feeds into not feeling worthy, not feeling enough. I am not enough, therefore I don't know enough, therefore I cannot do this thing. But I think it's also not just how it shows up in professional life, but even in personal life. Even when oh, sorry, maybe I mean more so personal development. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I would love to change my career, or I'd love to do what feels really soul driven or passionate driven, but I don't know enough. Even then, and it's just like, yeah, it's so debilitating.
That is in a way. I always when I use the word excuse, I'm like, okay, take it with a pinch of salt. I know that it's like something that triggers a lot of us, and but in reality, it is an excuse, and it is an excuse because okay, if the truth in your mind is that you don't know enough, and that is the case, and you really feel that you will be able to do a bit more with knowing more, go and find out. Go and learn about it, because this is the thing that is holding us back. And like I've heard many times, oh, but it's too late. I can't really now go and start over or learn that thing. It's going to take a whole year. And in like the answer to that is like, yeah, it's going to take a whole year. A whole year is going to pass anyway. So why not have it pass constructively by learning that thing that you want to learn and show up the way you want to show up? So that's
Yeah.
why I said it feels like that little excuse there.
Yeah, yeah. And we know that, and I know that you use the term, as you said, excuse, we use it lightly because ultimately these are narratives that have come up and they have been embedded from the things that we've heard and we were told, and that we have created stories from and with, and are deeply entrenched inside ourselves. And therefore when
Absolutely.
we're looking out at the world, this is the language that we use. But interestingly, I think when you look at this phrase, I don't know enough, through the lens of, say, the hyperachiever, with the hyperachiever, there's just a dissatisfaction with how much they know. Now they may know 10 times more than anybody else, but the one thing they don't know is how they mark themselves, is how they grade themselves.
Yep.
And so that in and of itself literally puts them in that space of, but I don't know enough. I need to go. That very thing you were saying is, I do need to go and learn more. I do need to go and actually, no, you don't. You need to apply what you know and let the other stuff unfold, right? Quite often.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do, I mean, over the years, I've stopped myself from doing a lot of things just because of that. And only to find out later that, well, I knew enough and then some, but I didn't apply it. So it didn't
Yeah.
really serve me or anyone else for that matter. And it's fell into that it's almost like a loop. It keeps going, coming and going, coming and going, and it's like, okay, I didn't know enough. Now I know enough, but now it's like technology is moving things very fast, so I have to learn something more, and I have to learn something more. And before, like even as entrepreneurs, and that is even worse in a way, we get into that cycle of like, oh, we have to learn, keep learning. And I think the industry is also geared to have us learn more and more and more without really applying.
Yes.
And that creates that big gap where you see, people that are really doing well in the industry and people that are like in a constant learning environment. They have so much to give and share, but they never really work um, because
Absolutely.
they're not ready.
Yes, because they don't think that they know enough.
Mm.
And that is an absolute loop that can be caught in. And actually, you just touched on something there about understanding that, we learn and we apply and then we reflect. What am I taking from this? What worked? What didn't work? Before we start worrying about the next thing that we want to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. I will learn until the day I drop dead. 100%. However, if I'm not applying what I'm learning, I don't even know what I'm learning it for. So this thing about learning to apply. So the I don't know enough for me is about understanding what you have and how do I apply that? How does this, and even if we look at a job and it's, I'm 80% there and the other 20% I'm not, okay. But if I've got the 80%, well, I had to learn that at some point and in some shape or form. What's stopping me from learning the 20%? Nothing. Right. So,
Exactly.
we create those barriers and we shortchange ourselves, but also in shortchanging ourselves, we're shortchanging the people who need what we bring to the table.
Yep. 100%. And I think the key word here and for this discussion is apply. Because you can keep learning forever and ever and ever and never really know anything. Because if you don't apply it, it doesn't really stay with you. It doesn't really you can't, as you say, you can't reflect and see how that has worked for you, for your clients, for others, or how it hasn't worked and what else is
Yeah.
there to do. So it creates like a very big gap eventually, because I mean, I can tell you, I have come
Mhm.
back to things that I've seen 10 years ago. And then I was going through my computer and I was like, oh my God, I actually read about this, heard about this, did a course about this. And how did I know it right now? But it was exactly that. It was
Yeah.
just about consuming content constantly, constantly.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I think we've all been there. And interesting enough, this week I've been going through all this paperwork stuff like this has been my year of releasing, just stuff going, stuff going, stuff going. So I'm going through all this paperwork and stuff. I'm just like, oh, this is stuff that I do utilize now, but I'm like you, it's like goodness knows I consumed this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and I'm using it now. But why is it taking me so long to actually apply it?
Yep.
And also the gathering of all the stuff that I didn't apply because it didn't necessarily resonate or what have you, but it just gathered all this stuff. So it's really important to, what do I really want? What do I really want for myself? And make sure that any learning that you do in that area, in that space, is not just consumed. We don't just consume, we apply. Because
Yep.
actually, without the application, what do we know? And we may know all the theory, but actually, if we can't translate that into the practical, what do we know? Right? Because it's actually in the application where we understand and get that deeper knowledge. That's my take.
100%. It's like what we say. Yes, knowing is very different to doing. And because I'm sure you hear it from your clients as well, and I hear it a lot. Like, oh, but I know that. Well, yeah, okay. If you know that, excellent. What do you do about it?
Yeah,
How does this help you in your everyday life?
yeah,
How it has shifted you from who you are to who you want to be? So this is the thing, and we all
yeah,
do it. We all do it. I mean, I really gather content just thinking, oh, I might use that one day. And the thing is, if you look at the parallels, like my grandmother used to do that with cloth because she was a seamstress, and like, oh, I might use that one day. Guess what? No, she just gathered the cloth, right? And
yeah,
that's exactly what I'm doing, or I used to do. I don't do that anymore. As you said, it's definitely all about releasing. And I think that release is so important, not like only from the material things, and even clearing your laptop out. I mean, it's unbelievable. But it allows for space in your head to learn, to apply, to do more things, to show up in like a lighter way, because it also,
Yes.
the saying, do more things. It's not about doing more things, do more efficient things. I think that's the important thing.
Yeah. And more aligned things.
Mm,
And for me, it's, just really telling yourself that actually I learn my best by starting, by applying that thing, and never being afraid of the gaps that you see. Because if you're up leveling your career, your whatever, there is going to be a gap where you are to the ultimate. But that's okay. You've been
absolutely.
filling those gaps up until this point. There is nothing to stop you from filling this gap that's right in front of you now. And I think that for me is just the important thing. And that's, really having the confidence to know, of course it's doable. Of course it's doable. I would love to meet somebody who is like, oh, I started a job and nothing about it has ever changed, and I've not learned one single thing differently from the time that I started it. I'm not saying that those jobs don't exist, maybe they do, but I have yet to meet somebody who is in that position. Most of the people that I know, from a professional perspective, whatever they started, the role has grown, their experience has grown, what they can do has grown, and therefore they know, you know, I do know enough, because as the expectations or the needs of the role develop, I develop too.
Absolutely. And also, not knowing everything about the role is not a disadvantage. On the contrary, it is an advantage, because you are going into the role with fresh eyes. And there are things that you will implement, especially in, like high achieving roles, that uh, because you are not in it yet, because you don't know enough yet. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is it is always a perspective thing, no matter what.
yeah. And just, that I don't know enough, because it plays into I am not enough, that sense of worth,
Yeah.
that just to be really kind of, just be aware of that when you're saying that to yourself. What am I telling myself? I don't know enough because I'm not enough. I don't value what I already know. And really kind of just sitting with that. Don't, not for judgment, but just be curious with that. And then really do be open to taking that first step into starting, and being able to say, well, I don't need to know everything. Ultimately, that's the best places. I don't need
Who
to know
does?
everything,
Exactly.
right? Seriously, if I had to wait every time I knew everything to do anything, I wouldn't be doing anything, right? you
That's
know
the thing.
it's like, leap in and see what happens. Okay, so the second phrase that we're looking at then is, I need another qualification first.
Yeah.
I thought you might
Okay.
laugh at that one.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm very much like uh, I want to say a victim. I'm not really a victim. I'm like I love, as you know, learning, and you do too. And you can fall in this trap so easily. And the qualification, what does that mean? Um, but also it could be a cultural thing as well. I think I have mentioned that to you before. I remember like 15-year-olds that I used to interview while they were doing exams, English exams in Greece, and you're like, so what are you going to do after after school? The answer was always, of course, I'm going to go to the university. There was no discussion about it. That was it. The next
Yeah.
question was, oh, that's lovely. What are you going to study? I don't know. That
Yeah.
was the second thing. So you can tell there that that's not a need of the 15-year-old straight away. It's just the expectation, the societal expectation, and then you'll figure it out. That's why you have like a huge number of young people that they complete studies in one degree and then go and do something completely different,
Completely different. Yeah.
because they really haven't given it the thought.
Yes.
or what it was
Yes.
that they really needed to, or wanted to do themselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
And that's led by, or that can be led by the school environment, at home, as you said, culturally, societally, everyone should go to university. I've never understood what that even meant, as somebody who didn't go and had no interest in going. But what I also find interesting, and I think when this comes up for me, I need another qualification first. Is like when we look at some of the most successful people, and success means, they've been able to, they started with perhaps nothing or very little and turned it into something else. That's how I'm defining success in this moment. Nothing to do with happiness and all the rest of that good stuff. Um, that they have quite often dropped out of school,
yeah.
dropped out of college, bypassed university. What they did was get the hands-on experience. They kind of threw themselves in the deep end and found their legs, got mentors. They just had a very different approach. Now, I'm not saying that one way is any better than the other, but what I'm saying is this hang up we have about qualifications, for me, is in and of itself an issue. And again, it's not because I don't think qualifications are valuable. I think qualifications are valuable providing you're going to use them. Otherwise, what
Exactly.
is the qualification for? And again, when I was clearing out my stuff, my paperwork, I picked through this whole folder of certificates for I don't even know what, so many things. I'm just like, how many of these am I using? How many of them are applicable? And how many of them were just to fill a bit of time? How many of them were because I felt I needed to, I needed to do this other thing, and it was probably half the folder, maybe stuff that I absolutely use and I was applicable, and the other half, who knows? It filled time in and it gave me a sense of, that sense of value because I did
Hmm.
something and I got the qualification.
That's what it is, isn't it? You said it is the value. And it's not only the value, the perceived value from others and from yourself, depending on what it is that you do and how you're doing it. And we know in our profession that there are of course, qualified coaches, that they are extremely well known and busy and whatever, and others that they are um, equally qualified and they are not. What is the difference? And of course, there are others that they never really went through like the official qualifications, but they are working and they're extremely successful. Again, what is the difference? People need to start asking these questions. It doesn't matter if I have a postgraduate degree, so what? How, as you said, how do you apply it? How relevant is that to today, to what I'm doing today? That is what we need to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I say, and I'm not beating up on qualifications. Again, if they are aligned to the work that you want to do, or the things that you want to have in your life, if there's an alignment to that, if you're passionate about art, even if you don't necessarily want to go into the artwork, but you want to have an art degree, you want to have that deeper understanding, I get it, because that's a pull towards, that's something that is important to
Absolutely.
you and has some relevance. However, for us to just get lost in thinking another qualification and another qualification, because when will you know that you've had enough qualifications if you're actually not doing anything with the ones that you already have? How will you
Yeah.
know? How many
Yes.
more do you need to gather before you are absolutely certain, because this is looking for certainty too, that you've got everything you need for that thing? Only to find when you get that thing, they perhaps operate in a very different way to anything that you have just got yourself qualified for, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, we know, especially in our work, there are so many different approaches to things. And the reality is that you need to find the right approach and then go and get the deeper work done. Because otherwise, you're wasting your time, right? It's like, yes, we can use everything that we learn. We can use like everything, a lot of what we learn. But the thing is that just spending time learning without applying again is what stops you from actually shifting towards the thing that really will make a difference for you and for your clients. And
Yeah,
that's how I feel it this way
yeah,
right now. Like, for example, our positive intelligence and how this have like changed the way that we do the work that we do.
yes, yeah.
So
Absolutely. And that's the thing, isn't it? Again, even as I look at coaching and I look at the different qualifications I have in coaching, but the richness of my coaching has come from the experiences, actually applying the learning. There's no amount of certificates I've got in coaching that would have made me or helped me be the coach that I am today. It was the having that understanding, seeing how I could apply it, and then applying it and seeing the results, being able to say, how well did that work? How did that feel for me? How did it feel for the client? What is that? You have to be activating this learning in order for it to have any, for me, value. There's the value. Just collecting qualifications for the sake of them. Okay, so you end up with 250 letters after your name. But what does that mean to anybody else? That might be an awful lot of validation, a lot of credentials, but what does that mean to anybody else if they haven't seen or experienced you applying those things? And again, listen, if that's your thing, because I also want to take into consideration there are some people who love that kind of level of learning, like another qualification, and then I want to see if I can do it. There is no, this is not a right or wrong thing. It's understanding why you're doing it.
yeah.
Why are you doing it? Are you doing it because actually it stimulates you and you love it and it oh yeah, or are you doing it because you're seeking validation?
That's the thing. It's again asking the right questions when it comes to things like that. We are uh, very much conditioned to accept those phrases or these thoughts without questioning them. And let's question them then, like how we do here, and see if they are true to, or they really are, because we have chosen them. They're
Yeah,
there, they are talking to us or not,
indeed.
and then change them.
Absolutely. And I will still say, and for those of you who've got a million qualifications, I know what it's like to have lots of qualifications. I will still say experience is the best teacher. I have found that to be true for myself. I've seen it across the board with the women that I've worked with, and even when I used to deliver corporate training. The application is when people go, aha, like now I know what that means. Now I know what that feels like. Yes, that's for me. No, it's not for me. It's in the application. That so getting having that experience for me is where the real value lies. So yeah, don't be limited. Don't be limited by thinking you don't know enough, that you don't have enough qualifications. Whatever you have right now, in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience, in terms of qualification, use it. Use it and then be open to developing it as you go. But apply what you already have. Otherwise, what purpose is it serving?
As you said, it's like covers a lot of hours, a lot of maybe like it helps you figure things out, or what you like, what you don't like. But like, why would you want to spend all this time figuring out what you don't like or what you will not use when you can actually use it and see what the path looks like for you, that is going to take you even, deeper in the work that you want to do,
Yeah,
or how.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's
absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. And actually I read there was a really interesting post, and I can't remember the person's name, so I won't try going down that road, but on LinkedIn, and she's a doctor. So we all know the amount of training that goes into that and the qualifications and all of the learning that goes. And she was leaving it. I believe she's in her 20s. She's leaving it to start her own business because the dissatisfaction in the job itself. And I'm just like, that's brave, that's bold, that's like, yeah, I had all that learning, but actually this isn't working for me. I'm going a whole other route. And if we can have more of that, that willingness to kind of let go of all the ropes that keep on tying us up and be willing to be a little bit more adventurous and try other things that may be better fitted, whether we need qualifications for them or not, we may all find a lot more joy. Just saying.
100%. No, absolutely. I completely believe that. But it takes guts to do something like that, especially when you are trained in a specific profession, and being a doctor, it's like one of these things. Now, I mean, I know at least, yeah, a handful of doctors that they are also coaches, and
Yeah.
they have done it because they understand that that is a path that is better fitted for them, for how they want to show up for their own clients.
Yes.
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes
Absolutely.
sense.
Absolutely. So, no more, I don't know enough. No more, I need another qualification first. Start where you are with what you have, apply it, embody it. So when I talk about I talk about embodiment a lot because a lot of my work is about coming back to self. So embodying it, be it, and see what magic unfolds from there. Right? Yeah. Anything else to add, Evie?
No, I think you've said it very, very well there. And let's close with that. Embodying is a good thing. It's important to be something rather than, think about it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that said, we're here every week at Permission to Thrive. And what we're here to do is to help you break free from those limiting stories and narratives that keep you caged.
With grace, not grind.
There we go. And a pause, always.
Always a pause. There is a reason for the pause.
Absolutely. Evie, as always, thank you so much. Anyone listening
Thank
in,
you,
thank you.
Yvonne.
We appreciate you showing up.
Thank you, thank you.